I can't help thinking about the time I was in the store and I had my little friend with me, and I was looking at something and I turned around and she was gone. And I'm sure some of you realize that, your kids go hide in those clothes racks, right? They go underneath, they hide and things. But what a terrifying feeling to have your kid lose your kid. Or the other thing is, if you're driving along and you don't have a GPS, you don't have a map, and you think you're going the right direction, but you're not. And so you drive around and around and around. I'm not going to ask for directions, forget that, because it makes me think that I don't know where I'm going, what I'm doing, which I don't. So I drive around lost for a while. And then there's people that seem to be lost without any direction in their lives. You see kids walking around and think, shouldn't they be in school? What's going on with that? Don't they have any kind of purpose? They just hang around or whatever? They just seem kind of lost. They have no goals in mind. They don't really know who they are. They're just sort of surviving through life. And then they wonder what happens to them later on in life, and they become more lost and maybe even forgotten. Being lost and alone is not a very good thing. Jesus, on his way in the garden, he's praying that the cup will be taken from me, and I'm sure that he was thinking about his death. And that's not bad enough, but also he didn't probably realize that when he gets sent to Pilate and to Herod and the chief priests, his friends leave him alone, lost, abandoned. And as he talks with the chief priests, they can't do anything about him. They don't want to deal with him because they can't kill him for blasphemy, so they send him to Pilate, who doesn't want anything to do with him either. So Jesus is passed back and forth, back and forth. Nobody really wants to deal with him. Well, the crowd takes it upon themselves to deal with Jesus. But it's not the kind of camaraderie that he's looking for. You wonder if that crowd is the same one that watched him heal and care for the poor and feed the 5,000, or all of those things. You wonder if the crowd is part of that group that witnessed the glory of Jesus in his daily life. And if so, what does that tell you? There are two different theologians, Reinhold Niebuhr and Richard Niebuhr. They're brothers, and they have different viewpoints of what a crowd is. One of them, and I can never remember which one is which, but one says there's crowd, there's evil. Crowds are bad. It's going to go in a different direction. Your morality, your integrity is going to go down the drain when you're in a crowd, because you'll just follow along and whatever. It's a bad thing. The other one says a crowd is good because it can sustain and nurture, and you can do wonderful things with it. In this case, Jesus addressed the poor, the crowds, and he paid attention to the crowds, but he really didn't trust them all that much. And here we have Jesus in front of Pilate, not saying a word. And that's powerful. You've heard of the Fifth Amendment. I plead the Fifth. In some cases, that is exactly what he's doing. That anything he says, as you know, can be twisted and turned and used against him. So he simply says, you say so. Powerful words, his silence. And I'm always wondering, what's going on? Why doesn't Jesus give him the third degree? Why doesn't he argue back and tell him what's what? Because he's the Son of God. Can't he just say what he wants to say and they'll listen? But no. Upon further reading, you think, this guy's brilliant. Because the last word is not Pilate's. The last word is not the chief priest. The last word is not even in the crowds. The last word is from God. That last word being that he has saved us through the cross, that there is something deeper happening, something bigger happening. The earth quakes, the temple curtain torn in two. Something big is going to happen. This man who is saying, my God, why have you abandoned me?" Quoting Psalm 22 as he's dying on the cross, is feeling the pain of abandonment. But God is not abandoned. God is there for us in that mess, in the washing of the hands of Pilate to further push him away, to have nothing left to do with him. The burden lies with us and the children of the children of the children of the Jews, us and our generations who want Jesus as our King the way we want Jesus as our King. But in the silence of Jesus, God has the last word. God's relationship to us doesn't depend on our methods, our ways of doing things. God's relationship is defined by God and what God does for us, despite what we do, what we say, who we are. It's all a welcome. It's said best by the centurion, this was truly God's Son. In these words, the recognition that God cannot be killed, that there's something bigger, there's something better, there's something deeper than the faith they've had before, that there's a new age just on the rise, that this soldier and others like him are now free not to have to kill. Jesus provides this freedom for us in his silence on the cross because God has the last word. And in that last word, we are saved. We are the ones who are lifted up and held in God's hands. On this Passion Palm Sunday, we remember these words, that Jesus does not abandon us, even though he himself was abandoned. He provided a way that we are always in his midst. He is always in our midst, never leaving us, never abandoning us for any reason. Amen.